Hi! Fire Punch is like a fucking acid trip. It's full of weird shit, immature jokes, and depression. I read it entirely in about 2 days because of how addicting and engaging it is, but it's also one of the most confusing things I have ever read. Like, my ability of retaining information after reading something is comparable to that of a shoe, but this is something else. It starts off with an explanation of powers in this world. You see, some people were born with the ability to perform blessings. They were commonly called the gifted. One of such people, the Witch of Ice, covered the entire planet in an ice age which made food a luxurious product that not everyone could have. Agni, the main character, and his sister Luna were both gifted with the power of regeneration. Agni, the superior of the two, could regenerate his entire body in a matter of seconds. Luna was less powerful. Regrowing an arm would take her an entire week. Because of the snow and cold, everyone in the village they lived in was starving, so Agni decided to feed everyone of his body parts as they would just regrow anyway. As you can imagine, not everyone agreed to eating human flesh, even if the person was still alive, and many people still died from starvation. After delivering the bro soup around the village and eating them themselves, the two head off to bed and make promises to see the warm world together. In the morning, Luna wakes up Agni while asking him if he wants to make a baby with her. I don't know, man. The people from the village meet up to bury the dead and make a vow to refuse death. An old man, probably the head of the village, gives the siblings milk so that they can stay healthy to feed the village. Agni, hunting in the woods, notices a plane flying towards his home. The plane was full of soldiers, who needed supplies and in return were offering including the village into a nation called Behemdorg. However, after finding out that the people living here were eating human meat, the leader of the soldiers calls off his people. Disgusted with the practices of the villagers, he decides to burn the place down with his power, a flame that will not go out until the tyrant is dead. In a matter of seconds, all of the buildings and people were turned into ashes with the exception of Agni. Constantly burning down and regenerating, he was in unimaginable pain. The only thing he could think about was wanting to die. After a long time of wriggling and pain, he heard a voice that belonged to Luna. She was still alive because of her regenerative powers. She crawled over to her brother while calling out to him. Agni, thinking of the afterlife with the rest of his family, made his way to his sister. However, the dream of going to a better place was shattered by Luna bumping fists with him to remind him of a promise and telling him to live. Moments after that, she died and turned into a pile of ashes while the eternal flame extinguished, while Agni continued to be burned alive. For an entire year, he couldn't do anything but cry in pain. After 3 years, he learned to walk by chewing his tongue to distract himself from the pain. After 5 years, his body got used to and adapted to the pain, allowing him to move freely. On year 8, Agni managed to move the fire from his entire face to only a single point, which allowed him to take his first proper breath. After forming a fist and taking on the route of revenge, he moves to find the motherfucker and punch him. The next panel shows a convoy carrying slaves to Behemdorg. Two men driving the truck talk about what's going to happen to the people they captured. They explain that the attractive women will be sold to the rich and the unattractive will be used as breeders. The men will be used as workers. After saying that, they show their corrupted worldview by calling them lucky to serve to Behemdorg. One of the drivers stops the convoy to take a piss. After he's finished, he takes a look on the captured. The man decides to kill off the elderly and give some blankets to the children, also asking for any gifted people to raise their hand. A woman speaks out to him asking if he could give her child some water. After a bit of thought, he explains that he is a gifted that can create iron from nothing. With that power, he makes a mug and places it on the ground and pisses into it. He gives it to the child to drink, while saying it's still warm and if they don't drink it, he will toss it away. What a fucking bitch. After noticing another kid giving him a death stare, he becomes angry and puts him to the line of elderly people being executed. After shooting all the old ones, he takes aim on the child, but is interrupted by his henchman talking about an approaching gifted that's engulfed in fire. Angry, the man decides to fight off the gifted, but is quickly burned to death as well as the other Behemdorg people. The child, looking at Agni, sees a god that answered his prayers and saved him. And that's just the first chapter. I'm not gonna recap it more because, as you can see, I'm not exactly good at it. You can read it by yourself, or watch any of the shitload videos made on this manga that do a better job of recapping it. The first chapter sets the story on a road to revenge. You get excited to see what will happen to the main character and the antagonist. And you get it, for like a few chapters. The story quickly deviates from that plot point, and moves on to being a very weird, confusing, and complicated story that will grab you by your heart, tie it with a barbed wire, and start throwing it around the room. The story is a metaphor for depression. If you take out all the sci-fi apocalyptic fantasy, you get left with a story about a person that lived through a traumatic experience that causes him immense pain every day, that is unsure of what he wants, and if the goal that he is pursuing will cause him to feel better. And spoilers once again, it doesn't. Doma, the person who burned his village, suffers an existential crisis after finding out that his life was a lie. After meeting Agni, he gets down on his knees and apologizes to him, begging for a way to make it up for him. That completely shatters Agni's goal of revenge. He still wants it, but spends a long time wondering if he should. After some time passes, he meets Doma again, this time taking care of innocent children, raising them, teaching them. They talk for some time, and Agni decides to not get his revenge. However, when going back, he loses control of his action, and kills Doma and all of his children. After retaining consciousness, he is terrified of himself. The story shows that there is no correct way of going about depression, no cheat code. Revenge won't make you happy, disconnecting emotionally won't make it go away, and lying to yourself will not fool you. It shows that it's a difficult journey that you and people around you have to go through, which is a great message. That being said, I also have to point out that it is fucking weird. The incest in the first chapter is nothing. There's this fucking guy who wants his slave to have sex with his dog for fuck's sake. Gifted people in Behemdorg are treated like fuel. They literally call them that. Do you have electric powers? Congratulations, you are now a battery. Can you create materials from nothing? Cool. How about you spend the rest of your life strapped to a bed being a machine? It's fucking terrifying, but believable. That is what would happen if the Earth was in an ice age and some people could power big machinery by just existing. It doesn't have the coolest looking fights, but it makes up with the badassery of Agni just walking up to someone and killing them by punching them while they burn to death. In fact, there is only a few fights that are more than just Agni going, "Me punch, you burn." In one of them, he actually rips his arm off and yeets it at another person for the ranged version of "Me punch, you burn" move. The other one that I can remember does not involve Agni, and isn't even shown because the character is recording a movie and told the camera woman that she doesn't have to get this because it would probably be boring. It's not the greatest thing I've ever read, but it stuck to me like an itch that I can't scratch unless I tell someone about it. But since my friends don't give a shit about it, I had to make a video, because random online manga forums are cringe. It's the very first video project I actually committed to, so please be as critical as you can, as I do not know what I am doing. Now, if you'll excuse me, I shall go watch the new episode of Chainsaw Man. Have a day.